Is Affinity Photo 2 a Photoshop beater? Well, if you're a newbie, we certainly think it is. So what is Affinity Photo 2? So this software has been around for a long time, initially only available for PC, now it's available for Mac, Windows and Mac, and on iPad as well. It's a Photoshop competitor, basically, is what you're talking about. And by the look of the interface, it certainly seems to be able to do everything that anybody wants. And at the end, we're going to talk about this special offer they have that we think is just makes it a no-brainer to check out. Now, we don't make any money from this. These are just things that we do, and we offer that as advice to people who are looking to find their way through this journey called photography. Now, we use Adobe InDesign, which is a page layout program here, and Affinity have a competitor. They have Affinity Publisher. We got that, and we're checking it out, and we've had it now for about 6 months, and we're very, very impressed. We think that it has everything we need. We just have to figure out how to get access to older versions of InDesign so that we can open it up. Anyway, it'll cut down our costs immensely because we've too many cloud subscriptions, and therein lies the big difference. Adobe, you never own. You pay monthly, you pay annually, and as soon as you stop paying, that's it. You can't use it anymore. You can't open it anymore. Whereas with Affinity, it is a non-subscription. It's a one-off payment, and you own it forever, or until your computer updates itself to where it no longer works. About 8 years or so is what we figure. So we thought we'd maybe just have a look and see how the overall look and feel is in terms of opening JPEGs, opening TIFFs, opening PSDs, and opening RAW files. So basically, this is the Affinity interface, and this is the Photoshop interface. So, you know, on first glance, there doesn't seem to be much going on. Full color in terms of the icons over here, which is kind of cool. But that's kind of it. And you've got your layer. We basically, you'd be opening up with layers mostly so that you can have a look what's going on, particularly if you're using multiple layers. So here we now are, we're looking at a PSD. So this is a PSD created in Photoshop. So JPEG could be created anywhere. The PSD Photoshop document was created and it opened up fine. There's your layer, and there's your thumbnail for that layer. And then if we go and have a look at Photoshop and the next one there we have that. Same again. So as you'd expect. But the big question really is what happens if you have created many, many layers in another image? So here's a TIFF file that was saved many, many years ago, and it has multiple layers, including things that do some very important things to the software, or to the image itself. So you can see that we have all of those in there as well. And in fact, we have that opened in Photoshop, and here we have that there. All the layers, all the adjustment layers, everything. So there certainly seems to be a lot that you would want. And this, by the way, is relatively advanced in terms of use of Photoshop. Most newbies wouldn't be going this far down the road anytime soon, 6 months, a year maybe, depending on what it is you're looking to do. And then you have a RAW file. And here's just a basic RAW file that we've opened up, and we have what you'd expect to have. You've got all the controls you'd want in there. We've got contrast, saturation, brightness. We can change temperature. We can lift up the shadows. All the things that I expect to be doing inside of Photoshop. And in terms of the lens as well, I have an ability to go in and correct this, which I have in Photoshop as well. So I can correct the verticals or the horizontals. And that's exactly something that I would expect to be able to do inside Photoshop. And here is that RAW file in Adobe Camera Raw. And there we are, all the things that I'd expect to have and want to be working with in terms of the exposure and the highlights and the shadows. The things are kind of there. They might be in a different place. They might be called a different name, but they're fundamentally there. So we think that if you're starting out and if you don't want to be paying a subscription, and let's be honest, if you're not a commercial photographer, you're not making money, that money's a lot to pay on a subscription, year after year after year after year. And I said that we would talk about something that has turned up that we think makes it a no-brainer. And look at this. Basically up here, they announced that you can basically get a 6-month trial. Now, what's really cool about a 6-month trial, it used to be, Adobe used to give you 30 days. And I never found that was enough to really get into a program. Do I want to devote that amount of time in the short space of time? Now it's only 7 days. So that's ridiculous. It just ain't going to work. But 6 months, you could certainly try to trick around, see if it suits what you want. If you've any Photoshop experience at all, it'll probably transfer over almost exactly, but certainly it will get you going without a doubt. And if you look then at the prices, I mean, holy moly, you know, these are in euro here, but in dollars, probably about the same. 37.49 for Mac, 37.49 for Windows, and it's also available on iPad at 9.99 as well. Now, if you buy the whole suite, if you want your InDesign equivalent, if you want Illustrator equivalent, they're there as well, and you can buy those at knockdown price. But anyway, we think it's well worth checking out. We're checking it out. We think it's a Photoshop beater, definitely if you're a newbie. And even if you're just a kind of an experienced photographer who's just been playing around every now and then and is wondering, you know, because times are tight, can you afford to pay that subscription again and again and again when you're only using it once in a while? And we think Affinity Photoshop 2 is a Photoshop beater, and we definitely think if you're a newbie, it's well worth it. So as always, if you've any questions, just pop them in the comments.